All right, we're going to take you back a bit. Do you remember those classic arcades? You know, the sounds of the beeps and the bells, the lights flashing, and of course those quarters lined up on the edge of the pinball machine, right? To mark your place? Yeah, pinball. People not only still play pinball, they compete. And the best pinball players in the state are coming to Fremont this weekend for a showdown that spans decades of gaming history. We're talking about the IFPA Women's State Pinball Finals. The top 16 players are going to battle on machines ranging from the 60s all the way to today for cash prizes and the chance to represent Michigan at the national championships. Here to tell us more, Heather Kendrick. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
So you got to tell me your history. When did you start playing pinball?
Well, I started playing seriously in around 2013 when I joined a local league in Lansing.
Okay.
My husband was a player before I was, but now I think I'm actually more into it than he is.
so you picked up, were you very young when you started playing?
No, I was actually already middle-aged by the time I started
really?
playing pinball, so it's actually kind of amazing I managed to pick up the skill.
That is kind of amazing. A lot of people you would assume have a lifelong love, but you picked this up later on.
Yep.
So when did you start playing competitively?
I started playing competitively in the league in 2013, and I started getting more serious in the next few years after that.
Many people watching this might be surprised to learn that there are pinball tournaments still being held because, you know, it's kind of considered a retro arcade game. So tell us about the tournament. I mentioned 16 of the best players are coming, right?
Yes, these are people who have been spending all year qualifying in tournaments all throughout the state. Michigan is actually one of the biggest states for competitive pinball.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so do you have any numbers? I mean, how many people are playing this in Michigan? Do you know?
Oh my gosh, I don't know, but there's going to be an open state championship for mixed genders on Saturday, and then the women's specific one on Sunday. And the open state one, it takes 24 competitors, but many people, hundreds of people tried to qualify.
Now, I'm assuming that the way you win a pinball championship is simply getting the highest score. Is that right?
Well, in most tournaments, you play head-to-head against another player, and the winner wins. And sometimes it's a bracket, sometimes there are different ways of round robin or other ways of scoring it. But yeah, you try to get the biggest score.
So how is this tournament going to be run? Is it going to be a single elimination, double elimination? Is it kind of like a March Madness? How does it look?
Well, it is a single elimination tournament, but it's best out of 7, best 4 out of 7.
Okay.
So each round goes kind of a long time. The tournament will last hours and hours.
No kidding. Now, when people come to this, I'm assuming somebody might be interested in checking this out. While they're there, will they have a chance to play?
There are some games that they will be able to play if they attend, but not the games that competitors are going to be playing on.
Right, I'm sure those are very specific machines set to I'm sure there's a lot of technical stuff behind them to make sure this is fair.
Yes, that's exactly right. They have them set up very carefully and a little bit harder than you probably will usually play at your local bar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is the tilt set to be more sensitive?
Yes, it is, because otherwise good players can play a really long time if the tilt is too loose. And so you have to set it really tight so the tournaments don't run too long.
And is that a key for a professional player, to figure out the machine and where that tilt edge is?
Oh, exactly. There's some practice periods so that people can test that, and there are people who say if you're not tilting, you're not trying.
Yeah, well, you can move the machine around a little bit to kind of control the physics of where the ball goes.
That's one of the things people don't realize is absolutely within the rules of the game, is that you move it as much as you can without tilting.
Okay. Any other misconceptions that people may have about pinball tournaments out there?
I think a lot of people think pinball is mostly luck, but actually the better the player is, the less luck affects their game. They're always trying to minimize the effect of luck on their game.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. But people come in, I'm assuming they go, oh, just keep the ball away, keep the ball alive with the flipper, and that's how you play pinball, but it's more than that.
Well, that is the first skill, of course, but one of the first skills that people really need to learn is a couple of things. One is when to stop the ball. So you want to stop the ball from moving as much as possible. You call that trapping. You want to trap it on the flipper as much as possible. And the other thing is when not to swing at it. Sometimes you want to let it hit the flipper and just bounce off the flipper without flipping. And those are probably the two first skills that people need to learn.
But you got to know some physics here, right? You have to know angles pretty well.
You do, but you start to get kind of an intuitive feel for it.
All right. So who's the favorite? Are you competing?
I am competing.
So you're the favorite?
Well, I don't think that I am the favorite.
Come on.
But I'm the favorite for myself and my husband, I'm sure.
So 16, right? 16,
yes.
And then you said there's mixed too. Let's talk about the actual the venue and the time that people can get there. You mentioned there's 2 different things happening.
Yes.
All right. So let's get some information on the screen if we have it. Oh, and there it is. Sunday at the clubhouse is what I've got up for the women's state. You said Saturday?
Saturday there is also a mixed gender one.
Okay, there's a mixed one, so the guys can get involved too, right?
Yes, that's right.
And it's only open to competitors. So if you love pinball and you think you're going to show up and play,
I'm afraid not, but you can start playing this year and qualify for next year's tournament.
That was my next question. If somebody's hearing about this right now going, I had no idea I could try to get into a pinball tournament, how do they start? Where do they go to start the process of maybe qualifying?
Well, there are tournaments that are sanctioned by the IFPA, the International Flipper Pinball Association, and you play in those tournaments throughout the year and earn ranking points for the next year's state finals, both open and women's. And you can find those all over the state. There's probably some near whoever is listening to this. Grand Rapids is actually one of the big centers for Michigan pinball.
Okay.
There are a lot of places to play around here. And you could just go to the ifpapinball.org website, and then you can find there where local tournaments are being held.
And does that website also stream the tournament? Like if I can't make it to Fremont?
There is actually going to be streaming. It's actually going to be on Twitch.
Okay.
There is a
Perfect.
streamer called IFPA Pinball, IFPA as in Ypsilanti, and they're going to be streaming both of the tournaments over the weekend.
Well, thank you, IFPA Pinball. I'm on Twitch. I'll be checking that out myself. And then finally, before I let you leave, you got to have a favorite, right? Is there a favorite machine that you've played over the years that that's your go-to, it's your favorite game to play?
Well, I'm kind of giving this away to my competitors because it's going to be in the tournament.
Oh, no.
But my absolute favorite is Funhouse.
Okay, don't even come near Heather with Funhouse because she'll dominate you. She loves that machine. There's so many places to play around town, as you heard, and who knew we have a very strong pinball scene right here in Grand Rapids. You can check it out at ifpapinball.com, or if you want to check out the IFPA people, well, you go to ifpapinball.com as well. Thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.